Now, so far in this series, we've been looking in detail at AO1, articulate informed, personal and creative responses to literary texts using associated concepts and terminology and coherent, accurate written expression. We're up to the point in this video series and the part of the ebook where we've looked at the terminology and the concepts and we can identify them. But of course, AO2 requires you to actually use terminology and to look at how those devices shape meaning. So what I'm saying is, okay, we can spot all of these things now, but that isn't enough. Device spotting is never enough. It's not enough just to say, oh, there's some pathetic fallacy, there's a simile, there's irony. We've got to say, why is it used? What is the intended effect? What is the effect? And that's what we're going to look at in today's video. Now, I haven't gone through all of the terminology that you need to know, okay? There is a lot in the ebook that I haven't gone through. But what I want to do is to have a little look at this short and seemingly simple poem, First Love. Now, this is a poem that I want you to, if you're looking at this with a class or perhaps you're in the mood for studying, to pause the video and to pick out every single poetic device you can find in this poem, every single device that you can spot, okay? All of the things that are going on that we've covered in this series so far, okay? I never was struck before that hour with love so sudden and so sweet. Her face it bloomed like a sweet flower, and stole my heart away complete. My face turned pale as deadly pale, my legs refused to walk away, and when she looked, what could I ail? My life and all seemed turned to clay. Isn't that sweet? Now, this is a poem that is very, very clever because on the surface level, it's quite simple and you can read it and understand what it means. Okay, so we understand, the sort of the gist of what's going on in the poem. Like I say, pause the video, see what you can pick out, and then I'll show you the example from the ebook which Mrs. Spagg came up with, which is absolutely amazing. Now, a little kind of spoiler alert or disclaimer. The following example of an analysis might make you think, oh my gosh, I could never do that. A-level English literature isn't for me. Rest assured, you will be taught how to write like this, and it is covered in the ebook. I cannot say strongly enough that you should buy the Guide to English Literature A-level, because it is incredibly complex, as you will see by this analysis, okay? Claire introduces a bittersweet aspect to love with this metaphor of being struck by love. Now you'll see in this answer all of the devices and the language devices that we found and the terminology that we're using is in red. So metaphor, past participle, connotations, passive voice, stanza, imagery, rhetorical question, personification, alliteration, tone, simile, adjective, noun, verb, symbolize, and I think that's about it. Now, okay, so that's fine. If you look at any of those words in red and think, not sure what they are all covered in the ebook. So Claire introduces a bittersweet aspect to love with this metaphor of being struck by love. The past participle struck evokes violence. This is more than being hit by Cupid's arrow, as it has connotations of being struck by a sledgehammer, the pain of which is heightened through the use of the passive voice. Claire has no power to control the strength of his feelings, which are simultaneously pleasurable yet debilitating. I'm just going to pause there. Beautiful piece of analysis, exactly what you want to be demonstrating at A-level. But you see this bit about the passive voice. It doesn't just spot the passive voice, it tries to explain the meaning. Why is it used? And of course it conveys this idea of something happening to you. So it's you are passive in it, it's happening to you, you have no choice. This idea is developed in the stanza with the death imagery of his face turning pale as deadly pale, the rhetorical question with what could I ail to emphasize his reaction when she looked. The physical impact that love at first sight has on Claire can also be seen through the personification of his legs, which refuse to walk away. He has no control over his body at all, and this emphasizes the power of the young woman and the strength of his feelings towards her. Not everything about love is negative, however. The alliteration, which is so sudden and so sweet, creates a gentle, almost nostalgic tone and emphasises the adjective sweet, which is repeated in the next line with the simile of her face blooming like a sweet flower. The adjective sweet connotes her beauty, might also be from within, as she may have a sweet nature. In addition, the noun flower is an image drawn from nature, suggesting that it is the most natural thing in the world for this woman to be loved. This natural imagery is extended with the verb bloomed, connoting youth and suggesting she is on the brink of adulthood. The phrase life and all seem turned to clay is another image to do with nature. Clay is malleable, and this might symbolize that he is so much in love with her he will bend his will to do anything she wants. However, the clay, coupled with deadly pale, also has connotations of the grave, suggesting Claire's old life is now dead. This might be something to mourn, but it can also be interpreted in a positive way. Clay can be shaped into new forms. In the Bible, when God created Adam, he formed the man from dust from the ground. This could therefore symbolize how Claire's life has been transformed in a completely new way by the power of his first love. Now, that's an example of a piece of A-level literature analysis. Those of you who are, new to the subject, moving on from GCSE, you'll see the distinct difference. AO1, about using concepts and terminology, is completely successful in the example we've just looked at. But it is hitting AO2. How do those concepts shape meaning? So it's not just spotting a device. It's saying, okay, here are the concepts and terminology I've learnt, and here's how they're used to create meaning. If you found this video, please do give it a thumbs up and pick up the revision guide, and we'll have more next week.